Annyeong. Hello to the Good Growth Global Forum in Seoul. I'm very happy to be with you virtually, and I hope that in the future I'll have a chance to meet you personally. A few years ago, I was invited to speak in Seoul. I had an amazing experience. It was after my book was translated to Korean. I met amazing people, but you know what I missed best? The food. You have amazing food, especially the Korean barbecue. Oh my God. So greetings from the Startup Nation. I am now in Israel, and I'm here to share with you a few insights about the power of collective intelligence, big data, and decision making. But before doing that, let me tell you a story about something that happened to me 20 years ago. I was alone in a hotel room with my boss, Bill. He was getting ready to deliver a huge keynote to a massive audience, so the stakes were high. He was known to have a bad temper and get angry very fast. So I was sitting near him. I was shaking. I was scared that something will happen. And then it happened. As he went through his slides, he found a mistake. Luckily, it was his mistake, but he expected me to fix it. So I had to run to the other side of a very big conference center and fix the mistake. I ran like Usain Bolt. I was so fast, I could have won the marathon in less than 1 hour. I almost fainted. But eventually, I managed to correct the mistake. The event started and was a very big success. After the event, Bill thanked me for correcting his mistake. And it's very nice to get a compliment from your boss, but it wasn't just any boss. It was the legendary Bill Gates, and I was early in my career at Microsoft. I worked at Microsoft for 14 years, and always I was fascinated how genius people like Bill Gates make decisions, and when do they make mistakes. And Bill Gates had many mistakes during the years. He missed the smartphone revolution to Apple. He missed the search engine revolution to Google and then retired for Microsoft. How is it that he made so many big mistakes, and what does it mean about us? Well, according to research, every human being makes on average every day 35,000 decisions, some small and some big. According to Nobel Prize winner in economics, Professor Daniel Kahneman, when it comes to the most important decisions, we are prejudiced. We make mistakes because we are not thinking rationally. We are irrational. I'm obsessed with decisions. They make the outcome of our personal lives and our careers. And one of the reasons we are so interested in big data is that we want to make decisions based on facts and data. And we have so much data in recent years because we are using our smartphones, we are uploading to the cloud, we have our location, our pictures, our emails, so many things. But the challenge is, how can we make sense of this data and how can we make better decisions? So in my talk, I'd like to first share with you my perspective from my research about the power of collective intelligence, of big crowds thinking together. And later I'll share with you my personal story, how collective intelligence changed my life. So let's start in the beginning. Not only human beings can think together, but also animals. Take a look at this group of flocking birds.
Look up! Oh wow.
Have you ever seen birds like that in the sky? I always ask myself, who is their leader? Who is their manager? Who tells them what to do? Are they gathering in an hotel room? They have conferences? Of course not. How is that looking so sophisticated and so beautiful? Well, animals in nature sometimes are very intelligent in a group. This happens also with fish and with birds and with bees. Animals can be very intelligent in nature, but I'm interested in the power of us human beings thinking together. And the first person who found out about it is Francis Galton. It's a very famous story from about 100 years ago. He was in a village in England, and in this village they had a competition. They showed an ox, a bull, in this village, and they asked people, what is the ox weight? They told them that if someone will know the exact weight, they will get a prize. Well, no one knew what is the exact weight. Then Francis Galton took all the estimates and calculated the average, and he found out that the average was the exact ox weight. He was the first to publish a paper, an academic paper, on what we call now collective intelligence or wisdom of crowds. I heard about this in another story about 10 years ago. It's a story about Deborah. True story. She lives in New York, and during that time, her 4-year-old son, Leo, had fever and rash. So she went to the doctor. The doctor checked him and told her it's probably a virus. You know that feeling. When doctors don't know to diagnose, they say a virus. And that was much before COVID-19. So she went out of the doctor and she had a bad feeling about it. So she took her phone and she took a picture of her son's face. This is the real picture she posted on Facebook, and she wrote, "This is my son, Leo. He is 4 years old. He has fever and rash." And the doctor said it's probably a virus. What do you think? True story. After just 1 hour, 3 different people gave it a name. They told her that her son might have a very fatal and rare illness called Kawasaki disease, and this could kill him. So she went immediately to the hospital and she asked them, is there such a thing, Kawasaki disease? They started testing and they found he was ill with Kawasaki disease. They started treatment and they saved his life. And when I heard that story, I was very curious. If their friends on social networks could diagnose such a rare illness, and most of them are not doctors, what else can people do when we are connected together? Let me share with you another research. I know that in the audience there are many government representatives and also big organizations. So this is an example about forecasting the future. Imagine you have a tool to get all this big data and create a forecast. What's going to happen in the next year? When is COVID going to be ended? When are we going to have a vaccine? When will we go back to normal? Not the new normal we have now, but the normal life we had before COVID. Is it going to happen? Are we going to fly again around the world? I sure hope so. So this is an example about forecasting from the US, and it was led by the CIA and a few universities. The CIA is trying to estimate world events. For example, how many people are going to leave Syria because of the war situation over there? Is the US going to attack Iran? And many other questions. They have a very big intelligence division and use confidential information, and they give those forecasts to the decision makers. Now, a few years ago, they asked themselves, what will happen if we will ask the same questions, but we will ask it over the internet and anyone can answer? So they did it over 4 years, and a very fascinating research was published, which is called Super Forecasters. There's also a book by this name. And this is what they found out. So they asked people the same questions over 4 years, and then they could compare what happened, what is the forecast from the CIA experts, and what is the forecast from regular people. They found out that there is a subgroup of 5% from people that are very accurate in their forecasts over time. They called this group super forecasters. And when they calculated the forecast, they gave them more, they took those estimates and they gave it a higher rating. So eventually they found out that the forecast from the crowd, from the people in the period of 4 years consistently were 30%, 30% more accurate than the forecast from the CIA. You might wonder, how is it possible? Those are regular people. Well, they went to interview one of those women. She was a pharmacist. They asked her, how do you know how many people are going to escape Syria? She said, I don't know. I search the internet, I watch the news, I think. And this is what is so fascinating about the power of people to think together. Because when we are together, sometimes we are creating a super intelligence. We are creating collective intelligence that can help us make better decisions and make sense of big data. So let me ask you a question. Think about it. What is the most important thing you need to have in order to find a good job? Think about yourself, and maybe if you are giving an advice for someone younger, what do they need to have in order to find a good job? When I ask people this question, most of them say, well, you need experience, you need to be motivated, and those are great answers, but this is not the correct answer. According to research, the top thing, the number one thing you need to have in order to find your next job is a good network. Because in most cases, when you hear about a new job, someone tells you, hey, you need to check this out. Now, what kind of network do we need to have in order to find a good job? There's another famous research by Professor Mark Granovetter, and he found out a group of 800 people in the area of Boston who found jobs, and he asked them, who helped you? And he divided people into two groups. The first group, he called them strong ties. Those are our best friends and family. The second group, those are our weak ties, the friends of our friends. So he asked them, who helped you? He took all the data and he found out that more than 80% of people found jobs using their weak ties and not their best friends. He published one of the most famous papers in sociology called The Strength of Weak Ties. And he explained it like that. He said that our strong ties, they have the same circle of knowledge as we do. But our weak ties, they open the opportunity for vast amount of new knowledge. Because you never know from a big group who knows of a job that is perfect for you. You never know who has a solution to a big challenge you have. You never know who can diagnose an illness that can save a family member's life. That's why I'm so fascinated by the power of big crowds and collective intelligence. So when I visit Seoul, I was at the old palace, which is so beautiful, and I learned about your fascinating history. I don't know if you know, but 300 years after this palace was built, started the first industrial revolution. The first one was the invention of steam. And then people can use trains and go far distances, and that was a very big revolution. After that, the second industrial revolution, the invention of electricity, and then factories. I guess that most of you in the audience didn't live without electricity. When I was born, there was electricity. But we do experience the next two revolutions. So the third revolution, when I was a kid, is the invention of personal computers and then the internet. This changed our lives so much. Think about what we are doing now. Even during COVID, the fact that we can have those virtual summits and we are using Zoom and other tools to meet, to hold video conferences. This is amazing. Who would have believed that this will happen right now? But in recent years, we are experiencing the fourth industrial revolution. And this is the revolution of intelligence. What kind of intelligence? Well, it could be artificial intelligence, it could be collective intelligence, but the main idea here that we are creating mechanism in which there is an intelligence better than the intelligence of a single human being. And why do we need all this intelligence? Well, for many reasons. One of them is to make sense out of big data. This is the way where we can take all this data and use this super intelligence to give us insights so we can make better decisions. So let me share with you an example on how collective intelligence is helping solve big challenges with a lot of data. You can see here a protein which creates a virus, the AIDS virus. Much before COVID, probably you remember, we had AIDS pandemic, which was very serious at the time. Many people died. And what is happening is that there is specific protein that gets people infected. And researchers try to understand how this protein works for 15 years, and they couldn't understand. And then a group of scientists developed a game in which people get a very simple protein, they fold it, they understand the structure, and then they get points and they move to the next level. Again, they fold it, they understand the structure, they get points, and they move to the next level. The researchers thought that if someone will win the game, they will understand how this protein works. Remember, for 15 years, they couldn't do that. Do you know what happened after they released this game for free on the internet? After 2 weeks, a group of people managed to win the game and solve the mystery. Today, there are many research projects using this tool, even a very big group of people who are trying to solve and decipher the protein that causes COVID-19, especially the protein that gets people infected. So maybe, who knows, the cure will come because of the efforts of collective intelligence. So now let me go to the second part of my talk and share with you how collective intelligence changed my life and how it might change yours. Well, a few years ago, I was invited to speak at TED, the big TED conference in Long Beach, California. They wanted me to talk about collective intelligence. And I'm not sure if you ever watched TED Talks, but speakers at TED those are amazing people. You can see they're famous people like Bill Gates, and many scientists, researchers, amazing people. And I was scared when I was invited because this is a very senior crowd, and also the TED Talks are short. How can I explain what collective intelligence is in just a few minutes? Well, I went back to my crowd, to my weak ties on social networks, and I told them, let's create a talk together, a talk about collective intelligence, using collective intelligence. So let me share with you an example. And the same example today is happening in many organizations when if you have a challenge, if you have a question, you go and you ask your employees. So one of the first questions I ask them is how I can explain what is collective intelligence. And in order to get creative ideas, I showed them an example of another speaker who managed to explain a very complex idea in just 1 minute. So I want to show you what he did. His name is Franz de Waal. He tried to explain what is happening to people, to human beings, when they feel that something is not fair happening to them. So I know that people from the South Korean government think about citizens during COVID-19. Maybe some of them are not happy and feel that something is not fair. How do they behave? How your employees behave? How your children behave? If one child is getting chocolate and the other one doesn't get the chocolate. So he showed an experiment with monkeys. They took 2 monkeys and they trained them that if they give a rock, they get food. So they give the first monkey cucumbers, and then the second monkey cucumbers, and again cucumbers, but then they gave the first monkey grapes. Grapes are much better than cucumbers. The other monkey sees that. So he gives a rock and he wants to get grapes. They give him cucumbers. Take a look at this video and let me know if this happens also in your organizations.
So she gives a rock to her.
So I showed them this video, but I told them, I don't want to show this video on my talk. I want you to send me other creative ideas. What should I do? So I started to get ideas from all those weak ties. One of them was just 16 years old at the time, a very weak tie. And he wrote to me, Leo, I have an idea for you. Why don't you ask the team at TED to bring you a real ox on stage? Ask the audience what is the ox weight. People will use their phone and share their estimate. Someone will calculate the average behind the scenes. Then at the end of your talk, show what is the real ox weight. Open the envelope and show them that the average is the exact ox weight. Very simple. I thought to myself, are you stupid? How can I ask for an ox? But then all my friends on social networks, they press like and they say, what do you have to lose? Try. But how do I try? What is the procedure? You have many forms in South Korea, especially in the government, don't you? Is there a form to ask for an ox? So I sent an email. This is the real email I've sent. And at the end of the email, I did something very special. It took me some time to understand. Before showing it to you, let me ask you another question. I come from Israel. We are the startup nation. We are a very big hub for innovation globally. What is it that we Israelis have that make us so successful? Especially when it comes to the startups and for innovation, what is it that we have? Do you have an answer? Let me share with you the answer. It's one word. It's called Hutzpah. Hutzpah. Have you ever heard about it? Well, Hutzpah, there is no translation to Korean. Actually, there is no translation to any other language. Do you know why? Because you don't have it. So let me tell you what is Hutzpah. Hutzpah is when you have a very unique idea, maybe a crazy idea, you decide to go after it, even if it looks crazy. And then you have the audacity and persistence to go after it. And when you fail, you say, that's great, let's learn from this failure and let's try again. And Chutzpah also has a very unique style. And we are born with it. This is what we have in Israel. So let me show you my chutzpah. At the end of the email I wrote, can I have an ox please? I added smiley and I pressed send. I waited for a reply. After 1 hour, no reply. 2 hours, no reply. Then I went to sleep and I started to have nightmares about them getting the email, having an urgent meeting about this crazy Israeli guy. And the next day I'll probably get a phone call, Lior, forget about TED and forget about the ox. Well, the next day I got an email from the head of logistics at TED, and she wrote to me, Dear Lior, we love your idea. We'll get you an ox. So let me show you 2 parts for my talk. The first part is when the ox gets on stage, and then the results at the end. But do me a favor, don't listen only to what I say. Listen also to how I breathe, because only then you will understand that I was going to die. It's huge! So cute! How are you, Teddy? Okay. Where are you looking? Oh, I see that you have red dress. Please, no sudden movements. So this is how it started. Now let's see the results. Thank you. We received more than 500 estimates. Not bad. The lowest was 308 pounds. The highest was more than 8 1,000 pounds. Your average is 1,792 pounds. So this is your average. Let's see what's Teddy's real weight. Are you ready? Teddy's real weight is 1,795 pounds. I could breathe back again. So collective intelligence is not just for simple questions such as what is an ox weight. This is just a gimmick. The real use comes in governments that are using collective intelligence to get ideas on how to deal with COVID-19. Organizations that are using open innovation to innovate from the bottom up. So in summary, this is what I'm trying to say. We all know that IQ is very important. When I had a chance to visit Seoul in South Korea, everyone I met were so smart. You are so smart. But IQ is not enough if we want to be successful. As you know, in recent years, we learned that there is a second kind of intelligence. It's called emotional intelligence, EQ. And if we want to be successful, we need to know when to use IQ and when to use EQ. I am here to open the idea that there is a third kind of intelligence, as if you want to succeed, if South Korea wants to continue to succeed and grow and thrive, you need to put in your toolbox this third kind of intelligence, and I call it your network intelligence, NQ. And if we are talking about the fourth industrial revolution, which is all about intelligence, we need to know how to use also the network intelligence, because at the end, we are smarter than me. So before I close, one more personal story. I told you I was invited to speak at TED, but how did it happen? Well, I had a video blog, and when I started my PhD, I had this dream that maybe one day I'll speak at TED. Then I shared with my friend on the video blog my dream. Think about your dreams. Do you have a dream? Something big, something that maybe makes you scared? Well, I had that dream, and I told it to my friend, and luckily it was filmed. So let me show you a short clip how he reacted when I shared with him my dream. I have a dream. כל אחד מהמרצים פה סיים בחלום שלו. כן. אני רוצה שאנחנו נציג בטד. לא בשנה הבאה, אולי לא בעוד שנתיים, אבל אנחנו נהיה שם על הבמה. וכשאנחנו נעשה את זה, יוסי, אתה יודע מה אנחנו נעשה?
מה אנחנו נעשה?
אנחנו נציג את הוידאו הזה. כשנצורים יפים, כשחלמנו להציג...
אין שום סיכוי שמישהו ייתן לנו לעלות על במה בטד, אין שום סיכוי. למה? זה עדיף שתמלא לוטו, יש לך סיכוי יותר גדול לזכות בלוטו. האמריקאי, יש לך יותר סיכוי. גם הוא אומר, אין לך סיכוי לזכות בלוטו, אין לך שום סיכוי להיות בטד.
This was one of my best friends. Why did he make fun of me? This caused me to be so upset, so sad. I was insulted. And you know, when this video was published, all my weak ties, those are the people that I'm trying to research and understand how they behave. They told me that there is an audition for TED. I applied for the audition, and this is how I got finally to speak at TED, only because of the intelligence of my social network friends. But it still was on my mind. Why is it that they made fun of me? And you know, up until COVID, when I was traveling around the world and I met many successful CEOs and leaders, I asked them, who helped you in the beginning when you needed help? Was that your strong ties or your weak ties? Up until today, I heard only one answer. It was always the weak ties and not our best friends. You know why? Because our best friends, they love us so much. They are afraid that we will fail. This is so sad because, as you know, if we will not try, we will not fail and we will not succeed. So if you in the audience, when you are honest with yourself, think about your dreams. If you don't have a dream, I hope that you will have the courage within you to find a big dream. And when you do me a favor. Don't leave it to yourself. Share it with as many people as you can. I know that it's very easy to say and hard to do. But when you share with a big crowd, you never know who's going to be the one who's going to help you make your dream come true. So 2 quotes before I end. First of all, from the Jewish wisdom Talmud, I learned that the Talmud is very popular in South Korea. And there is a sentence, go and see what people are doing. This is the wisdom behind collective intelligence. Go and see what people are doing. And before the last quote, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. It's a true honor and privilege to be with you. I really hope that when travel is safe again, I can visit South Korea and maybe I will meet some of you personally. Meanwhile, you can see the email at the end of my slides and you can search me on LinkedIn. I'll be very happy to hear from you. This is my book. It was translated into Korean, so you can learn more about the power of collective intelligence. So now let me end with one last quote that for me represents the power of collective intelligence also to make our dreams come true. And this is a quote from John Lennon, who said, "When we are dreaming alone, it is only a dream. When we are dreaming together, it's the beginning of reality." Thank you very much.